Ready?
Perfect.
All right, it's 6 o'clock on the bell. We're here tonight for the Adams County BZA meeting, and I will have the board introduce themselves and their positions.
Joe Rubel, board member.
Doug Hartman, board member liaison to the planning commission.
Phil Iker, board member.
Aaron Selking, vice chairman.
Pat Lamps, chairman.
Mark Wynn, plan director.
Megan Fallbush, assistant plan director.
Pat Hess, legal counsel.
First item on the agenda tonight is an application for development standards variance DSV 2025 35 filed by Leander and Rebecca Schwartz at 3730 West State Road 218. They are wanting to construct a commercial dog kennel operation that would be 341 feet, 400 feet, 583 feet, 685 feet, 700 feet, 835 feet, and 885 feet from neighboring residences. Per county land use ordinance, section 2-18-5, a commercial dog kennel operation must be 1,000 feet from neighboring residences. The land is located in section 01 of Hartford Township. Would the Schwartzes come forward and explain further their request? We'll need your name and addresses. Yeah, might have to pull it down a little.
My name is Leander E. Swartz, address 3730 West State Road 218, Vernon, Indiana.
Go ahead.
We would like to breed 15 breeding female property. And
I'd like to build reconstruct the barn that is there for a dog breeding facility.
Questions from the board?
What breeds are you planning to have there?
As of right now, I'm the only ones I'm thinking about is Boxer and Rottweiler.
Any other questions for the board?
Hey, these are your puppies. You're planning on selling them yourself, or are you supplying them for someone?
I'll just probably sell them to brokers.
So you won't be working with any organization as far as for finding homes for them. They'll just be all on your own.
Oh no, yeah.
And if the application says I missed how many breeding females?
15.
15.
So what would the average litter size be?
5 or 6 probably.
It's less than a third of our ordinance, which makes it plenty close to homes.
I understand.
Any other questions from the board? Calls or letters?
Just the letters that I have supplied you guys with so far.
The board has had the opportunity to read the letters, I take it?
Yes.
Anyone from the audience wanting to comment for or against? Okay, we'll have some people from the audience come forward. You guys, go ahead and take a seat.
Good evening, John Kreider, 3368 West State Road 218. I heard about this from friends and then I heard about it. I got the letter. And I'm not one of the ones within 1,000 feet, but I'm just outside of that. So I went around with the petition and talked to everybody around there and see if they're interested in signing it. Out of the 8 or out of the 7 houses that are on it, I had 1 no contact. 2 did not want to sign it, but they wasn't for it. And 4 signed a petition, not wanting it. Around a square mile, I had no one refuse to sign it. I had several no contacts and I had 12 signatures. And I know in the news article when this first came out on Wayne, I think we lose Wayne 15. It stated in there that he contacted the homeowners along within 1,000 feet. I had 2 of those homeowners say that they was never contacted by him. So whether he said he contacted all of them and really didn't, but I'm just saying that the newspaper said that they volunteered that to me. I did not ask them if they was contacted by Leander. So, but they volunteered that to me. So I thought I'd volunteer that to you board. So, that is, basically all I have to state, unless you guys got questions for me. All right, thank you.
Anyone else want to speak for or against?
An address, Patty Daniels, 9599 North 300 West, Decatur. I'm here as a board member for Paws of Adams County. We're a local nonprofit rescue. And I believe we coordinated along with others with the county to write this ordinance for the purpose of protecting these animals. And I have a few concerns, and I speak for myself as I read this, but the setback is a big thing for us. That's over half of decreasing the ordinance setback, over half of what it says in the ordinance, at over 50%. There's other concerns I have that being in rescue, others that are here will agree that we see a lot of things that maybe you guys don't, the general public doesn't see or doesn't know. The main thing is the overpopulation crisis going on in this county, in this country. It's epidemic proportion. By granting this variance, you're potentially allowing the addition of so many more dogs into a crisis that's already of epidemic proportion. And that crisis leads to thousands of dogs being euthanized every day in shelters because there's simply not enough room. And these shelters will contact rescues every day, pleading with us to pull dogs so they don't have to euthanize them. And we do what we can, but we too are already at capacity and over capacity because there just already aren't enough good homes for all these dogs being born. So every time a kennel is permitted, we're just adding to that crisis. And I think as a society, we have to look at doing better instead of making things worse. And these people will tell you that their dogs don't end up in shelters. Purebreds don't end up in shelters, but I'm here to tell you that that is false. We get purebreds in shelters. We get them in rescues. They end up there because a lot of these dogs, most of these dogs, all these dogs are kept in little cages for the first 6 or 7 years of their lives, churning out puppies. And then when they go to move into homes, if they get that lucky, they take forever to socialize. I know some of you have had dogs like that. I have one at home that I got at an approved facility here in Adams County right now, and I've had her for a few years, and she's still a flight risk. I could never let her loose in public. She'd be gone. They end up on the streets and strays, and we go out and try to trap them. They will tell you that they don't destroy or dump these dogs, but we can tell you otherwise because we've seen it. Puppies that age out that don't get adopted by a certain age, females and males, the parents that are retired between the ages of 6 and 7, and also those parents that prove that they can't produce viable litters. They don't want to keep them. They don't want the expense of feeding them. We have been told this firsthand by people that have surrendered dogs to us. So where do they go? They end up strays, dumped. We try to save the ones we can and trap the ones we can and bring them into rescue. Sometimes those are returned because people just can't put the work in that it takes to socialize them because they're not socialized. And then as far as the breed this particular night, I can tell you, although we don't agree on the way some of these breeds get a bad rap, I will tell you that Rottweilers are on a list by both landlords and insurance companies. If someone has one of these breeds, including Rottweilers, they can refuse renting to them, and they can also refuse to write or renew policies. And I've seen firsthand, we call people when we do references to adopt dogs. We've talked to landlords that say we will not allow certain breeds. There's lists that are out there if you look, and they are one of them that's on it, although we don't agree. I believe this is a lot of what people put into these dogs that make dogs mean, and I think they get a bad rap for no reason, or they're perceived, I guess the word is perceived to be a risk. So other than that, I'm just asking you respectfully to deny this for these reasons. And also, I don't know if this is the place or not to find out roughly how many permits we have out there and how the existing kennels are regulated and inspected,
No,
or
we're
if
only
that's
here-
another time.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's really all I have.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else?
Hi there, I'm Katie Wilson, 4777 North, 375 East here in Decatur. And I am here as president of Lennox's Legacy Rescue. I am here, I can't argue the breeding aspect of it because that's not why we're here. We're here for the ordinance side of it. And my concern is the sheer number of dogs that will be within 300 feet of a home. When they're telling you Rottweilers and Boxers, you're looking at a minimum size litter of 6, average is 6 to 10. And those dogs have to have ample outside space. So on top of the clearance for the building, you also have to have your outside run space. The noise, and even at 6 puppies, you're looking at 6 puppies per litter, 15 adult females. It's 90 puppies plus your 15 adult females and the 5 adult males they have on their application. And those are only dogs up to 12 months old or over 12 months old. So anything between a wean litter and 12 months are not counted in that 105 dogs that you're gonna have 300 feet off of somebody's property. There's the noise, there's the smell, there's a whole lot of chance of a dog getting loose and the danger to somebody else's property. I won't argue the Rottweiler Boxer aspect of it because I own both, but I do know that if they are not socialized, the potential harm to not only the neighboring dogs, the children, and the people is exponential. Can't argue the breeding. That's not what we're here for. That ordinance, it was set forth for a reason at 1,000 feet, and this is an issue for public safety, public noise concern, and the smell involved with that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, my name is April Wimmer. I reside at 4624 West 800 South Geneva, Indiana. The first thing I have to ask is, what was the point in having an ordinance for 1,000 feet if you're going to allow, as you've already said, more than half, give it away? My second thing I wanted to say or potentially ask is, who actually owns this property that this facility resides on? According to the Adams County GIS, if you look at the property card, it is deeded to Adams County Land Trust. I'm not real familiar with the law and how that works, but is it actually owned by Leander Schwartz or is it owned by the Land Trust? And if so, is the Land Trust a nonprofit? And can it even have a commercial breeding facility on it to begin with? That's something I thought maybe should be looked into before it's allowed to happen. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Any further comments from the audience?
Good evening, Jennifer Ibarra, 9363 North, 600 West, Decatur. And I actually am here on behalf of those who don't have a voice, the dogs being bred. Am I allowed to ask a direct question of Leander and Rebecca? Or is that?
Direct your questions to the chairman and the applicants could choose to answer them on rebuttal or not.
Okay, I was just wondering, have they ever volunteered, visited, or toured a county shelter? If so, what were their thoughts? I'm interested to see if they have seen the real conditions and the number of large breed dogs that are already in need of homes. I am here today to oppose the proposed high-volume breeding operation. Indiana already struggles with some of the weakest animal welfare standards in the country, and approving another large-scale facility, specifically one for producing working breed litters at a commercial volume, will directly contribute to statewide overpopulation problems. Our shelters have become a dumping ground for commercial breeders and their unsold and returned dogs. This proposed operation plans to keep 15 female Rottweiler boxers, 5 to 6 males for constant breeding. Under legal schedule of 2 litters per year, this single facility will produce an estimated 200 to 300 puppies per year. That's livestock level breeding applied to companion animals. In over 5 years, that roughly becomes 900 to 1,500 puppies entering the pet market with no guarantee of screening, lifetime responsibility, or support after the sale. Large breed, hide-derived dogs like Rottweilers and Boxers are not volume dogs. They are not little and cute for long. They require training, socialization, space, and responsible placement. Flooding the market with hundreds of poorly placed working bred puppies increases the burden on our county shelters, animal control officers, and local rescues, which are all already stretched thin. Commercial breeding is not an agricultural need. It is a for-profit volume business. The Amish community has every right to pursue work, but not at the expense of animal welfare, public safety, and taxpayer resources. Our county deserves better than to become another puppy mill hub. I kindly ask the commission to protect both the animals and our community by denying this proposal. There is no benefit to mass producing Rottweilers or high volume production of working breed dogs. It's very safe and unethical. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Miranda Mertz, and I'm also a Positive Adams County Board member. And I just want to reiterate your very first sentence, and that is that it's not even a third of the setback. That's all I've got.
Thank you. Any further comments from the audience?
Carol Young, 3221 East, 550 North. I'm not really prepared, other than I've worked with the Lennox Rescue. I live in the country. We have dogs that are dumped, that are stray, that have come after our horses, have come after our calves out in the fields. They're skinny, they're starving, and they have no home, no care. And to add to that problem, I would think is just unacceptable. I myself have shopped and have Old English sheepdog I bought from a reputable breeder. I paid good money for her, and I signed a contract. The dog was found to be ill. The breeder was willing to take that dog back. I also have a rescue dog that was a mini Bernedoodle, 6 months old, kept in a cage. And the only thing that is wrong with the dog is some odd little markings. I adopted the dog, paid the $600 to get the dog from the rescue. And that dog is 3 years old to this day, and he still is coward and shivers and is scared of any unusual noise, even though we have socialized that dog. It's a really shame that something so beautiful is treated in that manner as just a dollar bill. Puppy mills is not the answer for Adams County or any county. It's like I've worked out in the Pacific Northwest with rescues of cats. The same thing. It's just terrible, horrible to see what is discarded and the lack of value given to that animal. It is just a disgrace, in my opinion. And if they want to breed animals, then sign a contract, have them spayed and neutered, take them back, be responsible. But I haven't met a person in this county that does that in this capacity. I haven't. I see a lot of the Amish, and I hate to say that and just stereotype it, but I see the backyard breeding that is done. We work with the Amish. We like the Amish. They're our neighbors. But I don't appreciate these animals kept in small cages, bred for just $1. Anything's for sale. And it's the easiest thing to have. I could do it myself, and I just absolutely could never accept that I was responsible for a litter of puppies that are being strayed or not cared for. I just can't imagine that as a breeder or as someone who actually says they care for that animal. Be it small, be it big. We just don't need it. We just don't need that. So I hope you do the right thing and deny this. I really do hope you do the right thing. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, we will move on to finding of facts.
They have a rebuttal.
Oh,
A
okay.
little
Yes.
bit of time for rebuttal.
You have a time for 5 minutes of rebuttal if you choose to come up and discuss further. No? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we have a series of 4 questions we'll ask the board, and they are as follows. Question number 1, approval will or will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community because?
I'll say it will. The general welfare, the ordinance is 1,000-foot setback. There are 8 properties much closer. That ordinance was put into effect for a reason. And the general welfare in particular, I think is at risk here in having a dog breeding facility that far under what the 1,000-foot setback is.
All agree? Agree. Question number 2. The use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the development standards variance will or will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner because?
It will, because it sits too close to the residents.
Agree?
Agreed.
Question number 3. The strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will or will not result in practical difficulties in the use of the property.
I would say will not, in the respect that there could be other uses for the building.
I would agree.
Agree?
Agreed.
Question number 4, if granted, the board prescribes the following conditions.
You need a motion?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to deny.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Request denied.
Thank you for doing the right thing. Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is an application for development standards variance DSV 2025 filed by John Genth at 2501 East 100 South. They are wanting to move a property line that would be 5 feet from an existing building. Per county land use ordinance, section 2-11-5-B, a property line must be 20 feet from structures. The land is located in section 01 of Monroe Township. Would Mr. Genth come forward and explain further his request?
He's had a bad month.
Howdy. I assume you've seen all what the plan is there. We Bill had it surveyed out. With, if he gets to, we're right at the grass line, like, farm that over there, and that's always a field or a site I've been starting on. And if it gets moved over to his line, we'll be, right along the grass that's there. It wouldn't be out in the field, you know, that I'd have to plant around, spray around. Just make it a lot simpler. You know, that stuff was built back in the early 70s and things wasn't tight back then. So that's what I'm proposing to do is
Could you
move
speak
it out
into,
there along the fence line and that gives us about 5 or more feet from the building.
could you speak a little more into the microphone, please?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
You want to run that again?
Well, who owns the land adjacent?
I do. Me and my brothers, it's passed on to us. It's an LLC, and then I own the land beside it, just myself. So, you know, just to keep things simpler and easier to work the field, plant the field, spray the field. And that's nothing wrong there anyway. It would work very well if we could just keep it where that line is, and that's right along the grass line that's presently there.
Questions from the board?
I'd like to see 10 feet.
Well, he owns both properties. I'd like to see the 20 foot. we're moving a line, you have the perfect opportunity and nothing has to change. You can still farm right up to the grass line.
True.
You're saying, it's all right there to move it 5 foot out?
My personal opinion, Mr. Gant, you own both properties and the ordinance currently reads 20 foot.
Yeah.
I'd like to see the 20 foot myself. And again, I'm one board member, but we have the perfect opportunity to comply with the ordinance here. Nothing has to change if you own both properties. You can still farm right up to the grass line. So.
Well, down the road there, we, might sell off the buildings and stuff. But there's really not enough room to do anything, even if you move it out. So just be a lot handier, you know. I know things change over the years, but we've had that for years. And it's just nice not to have to duck around it and spray around it and just become a nuisance, really. I mean, you know, being we own both sides there now.
With you,
Like-
with you moving the property line, the way it looks, the property line goes down the middle of that driveway. What is on our map? And why, I guess, why aren't you moving it to a straight line? So that way your driveway's not splitting the
Well-
property.
Yeah, that that's not really a accurate showing there. Cause that building, I think Bill said it was just like a foot over the line on my side on the there, so I'm just
For me,
hoping
look-
it'd
for
be
me, looking
okay.
at the map, though, it'd be best if you had a straight property line. And then to make sure that, you know, for one, the property's gonna be squared up. And then down the road, you know, with the GIS, with at least a quarter of that driveway looks like it's in the property line.
Yeah,
The whole line ought to be shifted over.
yeah, that's a little bit deceiving compared to.
I think what Doug's trying to say too earlier was, you know, you got a messed up property line now that's left over from decades ago. And it'd be a good time to clean it up once and for all. And, you know, with today's setbacks of 20 feet, if you moved it 20 feet, you'd be, you know, totally on board with everything in terms of ordinances, and it's all cleaned up. Property line.
Well, being that I own it already, I mean, I don't see what the problem would really will be away from the barn. A good distance, 5 to 8 feet, I think it was.
Well, something motivated you to try and get this property line reset because it's clearly in a strange place now, right?
Yes, we're, what we're doing is, eventually I had Bill, survey it out. Gonna sell the buildings and, about beat up like 19 acres total. It's got a woods, And, that would be, you know, I don't know what somebody do with 20 foot there. So,
But it would be in compliance with all the ordinance. If you did that.
Would there be any other? So there would be the farm ground on that side, and I can see the point with the 20 feet, you'd have 20 feet out there.
yeah,
I
it
mean,
goes,
somebody's gonna either farm it, rent it, or whatever, but it's 20 feet for the length of that. It's kind of an odd amount of ground to have.
But I would think though, the way our maps show is that up there by the buildings, part of his driveway's in. And if you're clearing it up, you're better off to make sure everything's right now.
well, I thought Bill would be here, but,
Who's Bill?
Wim Hof, surveyor, yeah. Cause, it looks worse there than what it really is, cause it's, showing right along the grass line if we move.
He just walked in.
There we are. Trying to get this ironed out here.
Sounds like we're wanting to start over on a property line. And clean up a nasty leftover mess from years ago. And I guess the board's somewhat questioning why, if we're gonna, start over here, why don't we just go to the right number and be done with it?
Well, okay, here's what we got. D line.
Can you give us an address?
Oh, Bill Wemhoff, 4350 East, 550 North, Decatur, Indiana. I'm the surveyor for this project. Are you with you? Running late. Okay, bottom line is 50 years ago, the barn was put up. When the barn was put up, I'm assuming they got a building permit. I mean, at that time, there was no county ordinance saying that you had to be so far off the property line. The intent was, with everything I found in the field when I did the survey, was to put that barn right on the property line. There was no survey done. I did a survey. They're 3 feet over. So to go 20 feet to meet the present ordinance would mean taking up 7 rows of corn in his field, and he'd have to put a dog leg in. If he would go over 8 feet, it would put 5 feet between him and the building. It would be in the grass area, as I'm showing here on the aerial. And it will clear up the cloud on the title, and there'll be no question on with title insurance. Now, is this ideal? No. Would we like to hit the 20 feet? Yes. But I think it's a hardship onto him to give up 8 rows of corn and put a dog leg into it, where the 8 foot going over will satisfy the fire code. You'll be 5 feet off the building in case another building's put up next to it. And number one, he's willing to give up 8 feet of ground that's his to the corporation over here, because the corporation owns where the building's at, which is his 3 brothers. He owns the property next to it. And like I said, the building, if you go back, was supposed to be put on the property line. And back then, 50 years ago, we had no county ordinance that says you couldn't put one on the property line. And that was the intent.
So Bill, on this aerial, it shows that the property line runs into the stones in the driveway. Is he better off to square it up from the road? And
No,
do
it just hits it right there at the end, down toward the road. There's a post, and down there, that post, the section line hits that corner post 3 inches.
Well, I understand that, but you don't wanna have a property line in someone in driveway if they decide to sell off the property.
Well, it's not that far into the driveway.
But it's
Don't
still-
go
it's still
by-
into it though if they sell it.
You looking at the yellow line?
Yes.
Don't look at the yellow line.
Don't look
That's,
at
the yellow line isn't correct. That's GIS.
Okay.
That's your GIS, and your GIS, Adams County GIS is not survey grade GIS.
Hey,
It's it's for tax purposes.
Okay.
How much is the actual line into the stone?
It's about a foot maybe, right there up by the building. But when you get down towards the road, it's in the grass, over in the grass area.
So my question is why not just square up the property?
Well, I feel that it's gonna be a hardship on him to go 20 feet into that field.
Right now, from one end of the field to the other, it's straight shot. And we're not getting even over in the grass. That goes right along the line, that grass line, right, Bill?
Right.
Bill, could they reserve an easement for crops? Go 20 feet, but reserve a 15-foot easement for crops to allow them to continue to plant there? Even though someone else may own it if they sell that parcel off?
Will that satisfy the plan commission for developing that over there as a subdivision? Will you allow that? That's the next question.
Oh, so that's something I don't know about. I didn't know there was subdivision.
It's gonna be a subdivision where he's selling off the farmhouse and the property. And according to our ordinance, he has to subdivide that. It has to be a simple, well, this one here is not gonna be simple. It's gonna be a minor subdivision because there's gonna be 3 lots.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think they could still reserve an easement for farming, but
So let me get I'm a little confused here. Where the buildings are, you're part of a LLC or a corporation, whatever. So you do own a third of the buildings or half the buildings or whatever.
Yeah, it's in thirds.
Okay, so, and the field to the left here or whatever, you own that 100%.
Yes.
So why not make an agreement with the corporation and get paid to square things up for the 20 foot, and then you satisfy the ordinance, you got a straight line when you do go to sell it, it just cleans everything up. And you work out the money with your family or whatever.
Well, like Bill says, it's the hardship, the hassle around that building.
Go ahead. The present situation, especially with the corporation, is one of his brothers just passed away. So that's gonna be a whole different legal matter now on how things are being settled. So with the 8 foot going up through there and keep it 5 foot off the property line, that will satisfy his interest is on his property that he owns. And then they can settle up on what's gonna happen with the corporation over here. Cause I don't know what's gonna happen with that. And I don't think Johnny knows what's gonna happen with that yet. Cause he just passed away.
Well, his daughter will probably
Okay, I don't know. That's,
end up with it. Or his third. But if it'd just be a big nuisance. Curving around that.
If I farmed it, I'd want a straight line.
That looks a lot worse than what it actually is on the drive and stuff.
Yeah, well, that's the GIS on Adams County. That's not survey grade GIS.
And 10-foot it would be too much. We'd split
At
we'd
the
split
8 foot,
ordinance
I'm
in
right
half.
at the edge of the grass line where he's farming right now. And that just opens that will satisfy the 5 foot for the fire and get the 3 foot back where the 8 foot will catch it right there at the edge of the grass line.
And you're suggesting 2 more feet to truly split it to be 10
I
feet off
I
the
would,
building.
I mean, time you run a 60-inch mower deck along the side of it, or you're gonna be knocking cornrows over anyways.
No,
So I would,
we're mowing it now.
I think if you'd be. I guess this is what they presented. But if anything, I'd like to see it.
Well, the 8 is where they're farming now, is what I'm seeing, right? The 8-foot line is
What
where they're
what they're
existing.
exactly, so it wouldn't change
If they
anything
don't
as
get
far as SHU
by that,
production.
stopping in here.
Any other questions from the board?
Just
Any calls or letters?
going
No.
20 foot, we'll just go to here.
Anyone from the audience want to speak for or against this petition? Okay, we'll go into finding of facts next.
That's what it says. They've owned it for a long time. It's theirs.
Ready?
You know, asking for them own permission. I don't have a problem with the way it is.
Question number 1, approval will or will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community because?
Will not, everything's currently in place and the way their operation is working now.
And it's better than it's been.
And it'd be, clean up our property line off of the building.
All agree?
Great.
I do, actually, they were asking for 5 foot, but we're actually going 8 foot, is that correct?
Yes. I figured that out too.
5 foot from the building. 5 foot from the building, but I need 8 foot to clear it up because there's 3 foot of that building over the property line.
3 foot's into the building now, so he's moving the line 8 foot, but he's asking for a 5 foot setback.
I'm asking for a 5 foot
So
variance.
If he was moving it, if he was doing a
I
total
got to go
measurement.
back. He's actually asking for
5.
8 foot.
Move the line
No,
8.
he's asking for the 5.
He's asking for 5 foot off of the building. The property line will be moving 8 feet. Currently, the property line goes through the building.
Forget where the line is today, he's asking for 5 off the building.
Thanks for the clarification. I get it.
Yeah,
It's a confusing one.
like even when he was saying, he was thinking 10, he didn't mean 10 instead of 8, he meant 13.
Yes, yes,
10 off the
10
building,
off of the building.
which would move it 13 from where it is, right?
Yes, that's what I was.
Question number 2. The use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the development standards variance will or will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner because?
It will not. They'll be cleaning up a property line that currently goes through a building.
All agree?
Agreed.
Question number 3, the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will or will not result in practical difficulties in the use of the property.
I'll say will, if you've got a property line going through the middle of the building or through part of the building, it's a mess. It's not sellable.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Question number 4, if granted, the board prescribes the following conditions. None?
I don't have any.
Is there a motion?
Make a motion to accept.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Request accepted.
We got it.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Next month is for the planning commission. Yeah, if you want, can you set it tomorrow? Submit it tomorrow. You've already have it.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
It's for the few months.
Yeah, that's what I.
Well, I'll use that.
Okay.
I'll make sure.
I'll stop it.
The third application for contingent use, CU 2025 26 filed by Fred Lowe of APC Towers at approximately 3612 West, 1200 North. They are wanting to build a commercial tower per county land use ordinance, section 2-4-2-F. A communications tower requires a permitted contingent use. The land is located in section 01 of Preble Township.
Hello again.
Hello again.
My name is Fred Lau. I think you've got my address already, but it's 216 Barton Avenue, Terre Haute, Indiana, 47803. Yes, and I appreciate you guys giving us a little bit more opportunity to get our reports together. Two things that we talked about last time we were here were the effects on property value and the visual impact of the tower. We provided, I think, visual impact. Do we want to show that now? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm supposed to introduce Dave Coots. Dave's here helping me as well, representing APC Tower.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and board members. My name is Dave Coots. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Coots, Inky and Wheeler. We're located at 255 East Carmel Drive, Carmel, Indiana, 46032. Here this evening, besides Mr. Lau, are a fellow whose report has been submitted, Mark Ratterman, who is a board certified qualified appraiser. His CV is in the report that has been circulated to you all. And I'll let him go over his credentials a little bit more than when he makes his presentation. Also present is Dan Coots from my law firm, who has been working with us on getting this put together in terms of the additional information that was promised to the board at the conclusion of the September 18th public hearing that was had attended by Mr. Lau. As Fred has stated, at the conclusion of that hearing, it was asked that we provide additional evidence regarding the impact of this tower when constructed on residential properties or properties in the area. And that's what Mr. Ratterman is here to discuss with you this evening. Secondly, we were asked to visually show what the tower would look like when constructed. And we have provided those materials to the department. And I would ask that perhaps those be put up on the screen so that you all, as well as members of the public, can see the before and the after as to what, first, let me stop right there, if you will, please. The photo simulations that we're going to show you were taken from the yellow pin marks on this map. There are 4 simulations that are being shown. And the first one, if you'll rotate, is the one on 1200 North, looking to the east, and shows the tower after it has been constructed. The next one is taken from the Church Street looking to the northwest. And this is the before photograph. The after photograph will show the tower in the distance beyond the tree line. And as was mentioned before, this, and not to be repetitive for your record, but as was shown before, this tower area sits in the middle of a wooded portion of the property to the west of these homes in a forested area, wooded area. The next picture is taken from further to the east, looking west at a distance of 1,300 feet. And the tower, when it's constructed, appears there in the distance to the right of the garage of the building that's in the picture. We believe that by showing these depictions, that the construction of the tower, in addition to not having a negative impact on adjoining properties, as you'll hear in a minute, but it also visually fits in with the surrounding area when you look at power lines that are to the east of this tract, and the traffic or the structures that exist along State Road 27. And so we would ask that we be permitted now to ask Mr. Mark Ratterman to hit the highlights of his report. And then if there are questions and/or it's our understanding that the public hearing has been held open for this meeting, and that further comment would be addressing those two issues so as not to be repetitive with what you all heard the September 18th meeting. We have all seen that tape, and no need to go back over all of those items that were raised then. So, Mr. Ratterman. Lady and gentlemen, this is Mr. Mark Ratterman. And Mark, if you will.
Okay, very good. Okay. Thank you for letting me speak tonight. I will refer, my name is Mark Ratterman. My office is at 9247 North Meridian, Indianapolis. My home address is 8535 North County Road 150 East in Pittsboro, Indiana. Most of you probably don't know where that's at. And so it's a rural area outside of Indianapolis. I'm a real estate appraiser and have been since 1979. And if you look at my CV, which is on page 30, I think you'll see also that in addition to being real estate appraiser, I also serve on various bodies like you guys. And so I commend you for your work on this, because sometimes those are tough decisions you have to make. And so, but you'll see there that on page 30 that I do have the credentials as far as a real estate appraiser goes. And I do I do write a lot of books and stuff as well. I'd like to draw attention that many of the pages in this document, we can skip over. You're familiar with the property, so I don't need to go through those particular pages. We look at the traffic counts, we look at the location, we look at the pipelines, we look at all the things that appraisers do in order to make sure we understand what the property is, where it is, and things that would impact it. On page 11, I want to draw attention to the market analysis for the Fort Wayne area as far as being able to get some statistics on housing sales in the area, and as far as what the market is doing. And this looks a lot like almost every community I see, relatively fast marketing time, relatively short supply. Housing prices are continuing to go up to some degree, not as much as they were right after COVID, because interest rates are a little higher, but we still have a bit of a shortage in houses that are selling pretty quickly still. Almost every community that I see, and this data here is confirming that as well. There are some seasonal differences that you can see in the chart where real estate has always had that seasonal problem of when the weather gets really cold, the sales slow down a little bit because it's harder to get out and look for housing when it's zero out. Also, the Christmas spending does have a tendency to diminish the demand to some degree. So you see that ups and downs in the charts, and I've seen that for a long, long time. As far as methodology goes, over the years, I've been asked to do similar things like this as far as the impact on value of various things. And because of the complications of real estate, the various amenities that real estate has, and what I'm talking about is the variety of housing size, how big the houses is, how old the houses are, the condition of the houses, the size of the lot, how many bedrooms, whether it has a basement, all these things come into play when you're trying to analyze what an impact on value would be for a particular item. And so I refer you to an example I have in the material where I actually was asked in a board just like this to opine on the impact on value of being downwind of an asphalt plant. So I started studying why, what could I show that would show how prices are higher or lower based upon the smell problem. Asphalt plants stink. And so I went out and searched out two projects that were almost identical, built by the same builder at the same time. One was downwind of the sewage treatment plant. And I thought, oh, this is going to show me exactly how much the loss in value was. Turned out that the properties in the sewage treatment plant sold for more than the ones that were away from the sewage plant. I said, this can't be. Well, it turned out there was also a municipal park right next door. And the property, the average sale price in the one project, which I expected to be significantly lower, wasn't. And so it's because of the factors that we see, it makes it very difficult to compare one project, one location versus another if you're looking at the median prices. If you look at specific sales, it's even more complicated because then you get into condition of the properties, et cetera. So I'm not a real big fan of comparing statistical means, medians for one project versus another in order to come up with that. So one of the things I did do in this case was looked to the statistics for the biggest home sellers in the United States. And that's what I've got on page 13 is a list of the biggest home sellers in the United States, the home builders, and they sell houses repeatedly over and over. And as a matter of fact, for 2024, the statistics that I got from a couple different sources were 243,000 homes were sold in the United States by these builders. So I said, let me look and see how they handle this. And so what I decided to do was to study the impact or the on demand for housing as far as how the cell phone towers and in a couple of cases, some of the electrical towers and how those impacted the properties. So that's what you're looking at beginning on page 14. And I think going several pages into there, I think I've got about 10 comparables. And of properties that are near power lines, towers, power line towers, or cell phone towers. And I didn't see where the builders were shying away from all the cell phone towers. I didn't see where they were, building around and shielding the properties from them, or they weren't building close to them. And that in fact, they were building up pretty close to them. And if and one of the comparables that I found, they were building right next to it. And if you look at page 18, this was a property that I have a friend that helps me in Fort Wayne, and that he came up with where the tower was right next to two brand new houses. The builder built two houses right next to the cell phone tower property. So it didn't seem to me that based upon what the builders were doing, that there was any loss in demand for properties being right next to the cell phone towers. It didn't seem to occur. And so that was kind of the basis for my conclusions. I did also look at around the subject property and as far as there was no other towers there, but there cell phone towers, but there were some power lines right there. So I looked at the power lines to see how big they were going to be and where they were and how far away they were. So, and those also kind of showed me the same thing. We're not getting, people were willing to build houses up to and really close to the towers that are there. So I think that the reason we're seeing this is the demand for housing is really strong. And when you're looking at the criteria that buyers look at, that they're saying, I got to have this many bedrooms, I got to have this school system, I want to buy a new house, I want to buy a house with a basement, I want to buy a house with a 3-car garage. All of those things come into play. And looking at a tower down across the street, down the street, et cetera, is going to be just one more thing on the list. And where it sits in the criteria on the list, I kind of feel like it's pretty far down the line as far as how it's going to diminish the value of the properties around it. So that's kind of where I'm going with this is that these comparables that I had were showing me evidence that it was really hard to distinguish between properties that were selling, if properties were selling for less. I couldn't see it. And so, and then I also put on page 25 list the fact that when I bought my house 15 years ago, there was a cell phone tower, I think 2,300 feet away, so 3,500 feet away. When I drove past it, I said, good, I'm going to have good cell phone coverage. Well, it wasn't Verizon and it didn't help my coverage at all. It's the wrong company. And so, so essentially I didn't look at the cell phone tower as a problem. I looked at the cell phone tower as something that would allow me to have coverage. So again, I'm giving you my opinion here that I don't think that it didn't appear to me that it had any negative impact on it. I didn't find any evidence.
Excuse me, how far is your home from the cell tower?
Oh, it's pretty far. It's next to the interstate and it's on page 25. It's 2,500 feet. No, wait a minute, 35, yeah, 4,300. Yeah, it's pretty far away. And I'm also next to a recycling plant, which is actually noisy. And so I do want to say one thing about cell phone towers, and they don't make noise. You know, they don't smell bad. And you can argue whether they look bad. And so these tend to be the things that diminish. If we do see it, it would be, it looks bad, it smells bad, it sounds bad, et cetera. And you guys are all familiar with this. I mean, that's what you're facing all the time, is whether or not this is going to be offensive. And so, so that's kind of the way I take this is, you know, how far you got it to go. And I listed the distance specifically so you wouldn't be misled. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With that, that concludes the two items that we have asked continuance in October to be here tonight to present this additional evidence.
Okay, thank you. Questions from the board?
I had done a little bit of review as far as property values and opinions, and you know, the internet's just full of things, you can believe them or not believe them, right?
Sure.
And I would tend to agree that in a strong market, everything sells in a strong market.
Yeah.
Everything sells in a strong market. When you have a weak market or a challenged market, that's maybe more where more options. Just based on some of the opinion that I had seen written, and I've got a few of them documented here. Again, a lot of opinion around that as well. But there were also reports from realtors that spoke, and in their opinion, one of them said, 90% of their customers wouldn't want to be too close. What is that? I don't know. There were some different distances mentioned and some different statistics, and I think anything beyond a half of a mile or closer to a 3/4 of a mile distance away, that it was more negligible as far, which would be about like what you're talking about with your property, more negligible. I just wanted to speak my 2 cents on that, on the little bit of time that I spent.
I'm not going to argue what your point was about the market being strong versus being weak. It depends on how many options you have. I mean, if you got 7 different listings to look at versus 1 or 2, and they sell in 3 days. So it's, but we're talking about today. This is the opinion is as of today.
Yep.
Any other questions, comments from the board? I don't know about calls, but we had a lot of letters.
Well, I do have one question. I don't know if that needs to go to Fred or who, but as far as the tower itself, will that be a strobe light or will that be a red light?
That'll be dictated by the FAA requirement. It'll be different whether it's daytime or nighttime. Daytime's the strobe, I believe, and nighttime is the red.
Because I could see the strobe light at night being offensive to neighbors as far as versus a red light.
Yeah, understood. And the reason it's a strobe is in daytime, obviously, it's They have to do that to be effective for the planes to see. And the one thing, the one point that's always made to me by the tower lighting manufacturers is they've done a lot to take care to get the nuisance lighting directed up to the planes where they want it and not down to grade.
And as far as the breaking point of the tower, if the tower would fail, is there engineered breaking points on that? As far as that it would be,
Yes.
230, is it meant to break it 20 foot from the top and 20 foot increments?
Well,
or
it's,
break in half or what?
yeah, we supplied a fault letter with it, and that shows that the tower will stay on the property. What, 160 foot, I think they quote the radius at. But that's, basically it's designed, like you say, it's gonna basically crumple. And he describes it in that letter of the failure mode in the event that it falls. But obviously, we don't design them to fall, but worst case scenario, he describes in that fault letter. How many landowners have been contacted in Adams or Allen County for this project? We searched for over 2 years and I'm the third guy that did it, that conducted the search. So I know at least 10, but for a full listing, I'd have to contact my associates that started this project before me. What would, say the church withdrew the use of their ground, what would be your alternate plan? Well, we obviously couldn't build the tower, but that's not a possibility, I guess. So I'll attack it two different ways. One way is we've already got a lease in place and that's not a possibility that would happen. So if we don't get approval, I think is a more appropriate question. So if we don't get approval, then we're stuck. We can't offer to Verizon Wireless a platform to fix their gap that's existing. I don't have another candidate that's agreed. We are stuck. So the gap will exist until we can figure out something that's acceptable to the board that we can move forward with. But the gap exists. We need to, the FCC requires Verizon to service the area that this gap exists in. That's what they're trying to do. So in order to address that, this is the proposal. We, again, took care to put the tower in a wooded area that wasn't utilized for ag use currently. I thought that was a good thing. I do like to preserve ag land when we can. It also shields very nicely, I think. And we submitted the photo simulations that shows the impact on the area. And the tree line actually minimizes the impact that we're having just on the area. I know it's in a rural area. I grew up in a rural area. I know Mark was saying he's down in Pittsburgh. I know where that is too. So I'm sensitive to that, and we try to be as low impact as we can. Putting in the middle of the field, and a lot of the pushback we get from farmers is, you want to put this in the middle of the field, now I got to farm around it. Now you're a real pain in my rear end. So we're trying to be as low impact as we can, and we try to come up with the best solution for everybody and still provide the service that Verizon is licensed to provide and required by the FCC to provide.
Doesn't look like you were successful at that because you've got a lot of opposition, as you're aware, to where you chose to put it.
Yeah, and
in the September meeting, I recall there was a presentation about a dozen circles that represented a quarter-mile radius with no residences in it. And it seems like if you could if it takes contacting all 12, if you've got one of those to go for it, you wouldn't have anybody within a quarter mile.
Is there a question in there for me?
Yeah,
okay, here's my answer. I saw the petition that was circulated and I mapped out the owners that signed the petition that said they don't want a tower. What I'm afeared of is I'm going to put this even if it's a quarter mile from somebody's house, and now I just change the faces that are in this room. We meet the
No,
requirement.
I'm talking about the proximity.
Yeah,
You've
I
got a
know.
lot of opposition because they're so close to their houses. And you guys want us to vote against the will of the people because you found a convenient location. It's a lot easier to get what you want if you find a location that doesn't have so many people within that quarter mile.
How do you know that?
Common sense.
Oh, so you can tell the future. I've got people that signed that petition that were more than a mile away from this tower. What that tells me is they don't want it in their backyard. It's a NIMBY situation. So no matter where I go, what that tells me, because everybody signed the petition, now I've got everybody in this area that doesn't want a tower near them, right? I can't do that. I can't fix this gap and not put it near somebody's house.
I think just from my perspective, I think really the important ones that signed that, I know there were a lot, and I realize what you're saying, that some were a long ways away.
Right.
Those really aren't on my mind. I think the ones that are on my mind personally are the ones that we see just within this screenshot.
Okay.
For me personally.
Right.
And again, I'm a dummy to this. I tried doing a little bit of research. I have been looking at a lot of cell towers.
Sure.
I make a lot of trips to West Lafayette. I drive down 24 and 25. So I've been trying to really look for cell towers because the cell service is not good there. For me, it isn't. I mean, it's one bar. So I understand the need. In making that trip, I think there was one, and I'm just going to throw some numbers out there because you can imagine, you probably know better than I do how many cell towers are between Decatur and West Lafayette. There was one that I remember seeing that had maybe several houses near, like a similar proximity. Many of the others, there might be one, right, within a closer proximity like this that I had seen out in the rural areas. Obviously, when you're in town, like where we are here, you don't have much of a choice. You know, you can't get around those folks. And I don't know how that procedure works, but a fair majority of what I had seen was just like I was mentioning, you know, you might have one home within this type of a proximity, maybe two. And then there was one spot where they had probably 3 or 4. It's more of a wooded area, kind of like this, like a subdivision that was close. But the rest of them were back further away. And I think maybe that's the point that our chairman is making there. And I'm sure it's not easy. Finding people that want that. And I understand. I'm just speaking from my experience and what I was looking at as I was making my travels.
Right. And I understand it. If I can respond, that's one of the reasons we had Mr. Adamman look at, hey, what are you seeing? Kind of like what you did, right? Drive between here and Purdue and see what you see out in the wild, right? And what we see and what I see when I do my drives, because like you say, I'm in the industry now, I notice this kind of thing. But it's a slew of examples both ways. A slew that are out in the middle of a field somewhere with nothing around. But there's a slew of examples of built right up next to an existing or a proposed build project, right? A subdivision. So I guess that was the point that Mark was trying to make. When we're looking at, is it detrimental to be next to somebody's house with a cell tower? That's the question, right? And that's what Mark was trying to make the point. From what we see and from what the data shows us and everything else, basically it does not. Okay. So the question is I get the applause line, right? But is it actually impacting the values negatively? That's the question I think Mark was trying to answer.
I think he made his point pretty clear. My only response to that was, you know, in the hot market, the strong market, things sell.
I got it.
And in that other case, you know, where that subdivision that we looked at on here, the tower was there prior to those people building. They knew what they were getting into, and it's a strong market. I think the opposition are the folks obviously that already own the property. Right. So
Right.
that's, if you sell in a hot market, maybe they wouldn't have much of an issue right now. But let's say they're in a position where they need to sell their property and it's a weaker market. That's again, just my opinion, and I felt obligated to voice it to you.
Understood. So what is the reasoning for, I just say there's a hole, but what is the reasoning for the tower to be there? Why can't it be, a mile east, mile west, mile north, mile south, or, understand my question?
Yes, and again, the way we got here, and I went into this in the first iteration of the meeting, we get told exactly where they need their equipment to be located to fix the service gap that exists for what Verizon Wireless is trying to provide to the public. This meets their needs and fits in the ordinance requirements, honestly. So you can get into that situation where I mean, we have a good situation here where the RF engineer told us where they needed to be to effectively service the area. We found a property that meets the ordinance requirements that they can locate on, and I believe minimizes the impact of the surrounding area, but services the needs that Verizon Wireless has to provide that service that they're required to provide.
Excuse me, if I might interject. The relocation of this tower, a half a mile or a mile, whatever distance you choose, necessitates a re-engineering of how the network blends together and may necessitate an additional tower to be constructed to cover a new gap that you create by relocating this tower in a different location. The process, as you heard in September, it's a fairly lengthy process that a tower erector has to go through to get the necessary approvals from EPA, FCC, et cetera, FAA. And that's been a 2-3 year journey as to this very site. And the site, as Mr. Lau has stated, was chosen because of its density, protected density of the wooded area around what will be the base material, the ground equipment, things like that. And so that's why this spot, excuse me.
If, let's just say, for example, there was a large reservoir right there and your computer model showed you that in the middle of that reservoir was the ideal spot, there would be a workaround though, right? I mean, if where you've got this located, if there was a reservoir, if that was in the middle of a reservoir, you wouldn't be building in the middle of the reservoir. If they asked me to put it in the middle of a lake? Yeah. Population density. You would find a workaround somehow. It's unlikely that they're gonna put a pin in the middle of a lake. I understand that. So what I'm saying is, it seems that just because the computer model shows that's the ideal spot and it fits some other criteria, that there isn't some other workaround to find a different location. Yes, and again, if you find that workaround, let's say we move it a mile away, like you suggested. Okay, well now I gotta build another tower in somebody else's backyard because now I've opened up a new gap. Right? We're trying to minimize the number of towers we have to build and still service the community that we're trying to service and fill the gaps and not slide stuff around and just to satisfy some arbitrary need that somebody's putting on us. What we're trying to do is deal within the ordinances that are written and try to get the system as good as we can get it to service the community that we're trying to serve and minimize the number of towers for both of our sakes. We aren't in the business of, oh my gosh, let's go build another tower, because we're here because there's a service gap in the area. That's what we're trying to correct. We're not trying to build a tower just because we like building towers. We're trying to address an issue that we have to address. So yes, I understand your point. Yeah, could you slide it around? Yes, but it causes a domino effect like I described in September. These things fit together like a honeycomb. If you move one of those honeycombs, now I got a problem because now I'm not butting up where I need to butt up with the other two. Now I've got additional gaps that are opening up, and sometimes you can open a gap that you'll never fix. You'll have the dead spot forever unless you come in and put in a, you know, because if you put it in another tower into that gap, then it starts fighting itself and bullying each other for calls to try, and it's a kind of a mess. So getting it just right and putting that honeycomb together so that they butt up, they bind each other with the boundaries so that they can properly handle the calls in the area. That's what we're trying to get.
Was this your first choice location?
This was my first choice location. I know there were other possibilities in the area that we looked at, but they were not chosen. And that's not unusual. So we'll
You know why
look
they were
at,
not chosen?
They weren't
what's that?
available.
They're not available.
The landlord or the landowner was unwilling to lease the necessary space.
I have one more question, just for my
Yeah.
knowledge. I see this as the guy wire type, and trust me, I've been looking at these things. Is that about the tallest? This is what, 365? Is it?
230.
No, 230.
That's right, sorry. What are the other general heights? I know some of them are guy wire, some of them are some of them are self-standing.
250 is generally where we are. We tried to minimize this one to the extent that still worked for the RF engineers, which is why it's that odd number 230, which I don't see a lot. But yeah, they're usually 250 is the standard. Of course, they can go up to 300. Of course, there's guide towers out in the plain states that are 750 foot tall. And they have an actual elevator, but that's, you don't want to go on those.
Anyone from the audience wanting to speak for or against this request?
I'm Ron Uffleman, 464 South, 75 East, Albion, Indiana, 46701. I also represent my mother's property, which is about 3/4 of a mile to the west of that. We had a cell tower on that property at one time when I'm not necessarily for or against this, but I'd like to offer an alternative site for the place. There's already an infrastructure there. There's an access road. There's only a couple houses on the road. And I would guess it's within the target area.
Fred, did you hear that?
I heard that it's 3/4 of a mile away from where we are and is across the.
It's on
27?
It's on 1200, just,
Yeah, is it west of 27?
yes.
Yeah.
There was a tower there at one time.
I get that, but just out of hand, that's not in the area that I was assigned to look in.
Okay, but you said you contacted all the property owners and I never heard anything about it.
15-mile radius. I mean, I've
Nope.
contacted owners and so did my predecessor within the search area that we were given.
Okay, well, I'm just putting it out there that, I mean, we'd like to offer we'd like to take a look at a deal.
It was 3/4 of a mile west. Did you say 3/4 of a mile west?
I think I'm guessing, but probably.
Are you in Adams or?
It's Allen County, just on the north side of the
This-
county line.
I'm. That orange circle right there.
So there's a
I'm
woods
about there.
right there.
I'm right there. Right here.
Yes, right there. It would depend on what kind of deal it was, but
5,800 feet.
so more than a mile. So, okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
I see you making notes. Is there any interest in that? I mean, things get a lot easier if that would work.
I'm sorry, I would love it if we could just put a poster up and go, hey, is anybody interested in a cell tower? And then whoever comes up and everybody's happy with, we can just do it. My problem is that's a mile away from where we're proposing. That's not going to work. It's not within our search area. It's not where RF needs the coverage. So yes, I'd love it to make folks happy. Yeah, I would. It would be, my life would be much easier if we could just put
Indeed.
towers where it was easy to put them. Unfortunately, I have to put them where the coverage is needed and it works with the system. That's my lot in life. So I love it that he's willing to offer that. But again, that's a full mile away. In today's world, and you can see in the maps, moving that is going to open a big gap to our east.
How far away was the other locations that you had, but they didn't end up agreeing?
My search area is typically a half-mile radius all the way around. In this case, it was more compact, but half mile is the
My question is, how
absolute
far
most.
away was the last almost site that you chose? Before you said you didn't get the agreement, but
Right,
how
we
far
didn't get
away
the
was that?
agreement and RF never approved that site. And that site was to the south of us. I can't remember the exact distance, but
Was it more than a mile?
I don't believe so. But I don't know. So can't put that on the record.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Anyone else want to speak for or against? You'll have to come to the microphone.
Have one question before other people have opinions on everything.
Name and address.
Yes, Adria Zimmerman, 11831 North, 350 West, Decatur. I want to know on the map where he looked. Is there a way to see where is an acceptable area to put said towers?
He'll have a chance to rebut. If he can answer that, he will. The back and forth is really hard on a recorded hearing, and we're trying to make a record, so we have to be more formal than we'd like.
Okay, that's okay. While I'm up here, before everybody else comes up, I'm gonna hand you some pictures I've taken of our neighborhood. And while the woods is supposed to cover everything, we can see straight through to the highway from our homes. So when there is woods up, it would be fine for some people, but right now, the leaves are starting to fall, and soon there will be no leaves on there, and we are going to be able to see every part of the tower, including the station, including the lights. I looked at Mr. Lau's image that he sent in that had the tower, and it had a light in the middle and a light on the top. So there's two different spots where we will be getting light exposure from, which all of our bedroom windows are right there. But as you can see, this is getting more and more bare. This is where the tower wants to sit, and people are gonna be able to see every part of it. And then on top of it, he's removing a whole bunch more of the woods to put this up. So it's only gonna get less coverage. And that is all.
We'll get your name and address.
Yeah, I already did that. Yep.
Thank you.
And members, if you could funnel those photos when you're done with them back to Megan so she can mark them and keep them in the file.
Also, I called around a bunch of people and I have found several different people interested in housing the tower. That's why I'm asking where on the map would be an appropriate location for this tower. Which Ron was one of those people that was available tonight.
Landowners within a mile of,
I don't know where his mile is. If you look at this map, Mr. Lau said that he was trying to be the in-betweener between the Monmouth and county line. And that isn't going to fill that with the coverage that he told us that he would provide, which is the 3 miles. It doesn't fill it to Monmouth. Oh, do you want that too?
We'll need it for the file.
Pardon?
We'll need it for the file.
Okay. It doesn't even, which this one I think gets closer so you can actually see the roads. It's the same image. But it doesn't fill the gap that he said. I like the thought that this is the in-betweener to fill that gap because it doesn't fill the gap. And that's what I think. Thank you.
Adrian, what about the school?
Can I come up there with her really quick too? She's kind of left me.
sure.
Thank you. Come on back. Troy Zimmerman, 11831 Northeast West, husband, said lady next to me. So yeah, he was urged to find different locations. He's banking on this one. His tower, which last time it was brought up, the school has poor coverage and the church has poor coverage. Pastor Brock's phone doesn't work in the church, school, all that. Again, this 5G tower is not going to fix that at all. The 5G doesn't penetrate the metal roof on the church, on the school, which is the biggest problem. It actually is worse than 4G coverage when it comes to that. And I feel like that was potentially a factor in, some of the back and forth on, is it necessary? Is it not necessary? Another thing is, it's not a hardship. It's an inconvenience. There's a difference of the two. I didn't have internet for years and years, like Wi-Fi per se. Use our phones, and then the fiber optic came, which I don't. I mean, the school has fiber optic. Do they not? Does anybody know that?
They do. We have it.
Okay, so they have internet. Now, as far as the signal goes, again, his tower is not going to fix anything whatsoever. So I'm not even sure why this is a.
And I feel like it's a company that got a really low lease rate, because if you look at the same company, they're paying leases up to $3,000 a month. And for this, it was between $550 and $850. I can't remember. So they don't want to give this up because they're benefiting financially a lot more, where if they had to pay someone else, they think that they're getting a better deal. Well, they're ripping off the church that could have got paid a lot more.
And another thing, we might have talked about this last time, I can't remember. The school parents weren't notified about this. And they're not really helping out with wanting to let people know what's going on. But I'm sure you'd have a lot more people here tonight too, if the school actually did their job and was responsible enough to let other people know. So
The more people that are finding out, the more upset they are. People talking about pulling their kids from Winnicott already due to this. And it's just crazy to think that this is the best location inside a neighborhood near a school.
and how this site was proposed, how it was written up is not where it it was proposed on the old Zwick farm. And that is across the highway. And where it is, I mean, if I put in the old Zwick farm address, it's not gonna pop me up in the corner of a woods, you know? So I feel like there would have been a lot more opposition if that was not worded in a way to, I feel, trick people. So for what it's worth.
Thank you.
Yeah. This is another map of current coverage from the Allen County towers that honeycomb into each other that are actually going to overlap and cause problems.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, it was my understanding that the purpose of the continuation of the public hearing was to address the two topics that we presented additional evidence on, and not opening up everything that was brought before the board at the September meeting. And if we're expected to respond to those types of comments, we're willing to do so, but that's not my understanding of what we were to accomplish.
You asked for the continuance.
Yes, sir.
I assume that was presumably to build your case.
It was to.
That same continuance will be awarded to the opposing view.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else?
Hi, my name's Andrew Zoda, home address 4607 Bridgetown Fort in Fort Wayne. I've been a realtor for 25 years, based out of Fort Wayne, but I do over half my business in the outlying areas, including Adams and Wells County. I've been personally and professionally familiar with this neighborhood adjacent to this proposed development for a long time. And a couple of the residents that I know there had reached out and just tried to ask my opinion on cell phone towers and resale for real estate. You know, I'm not have been paid to be here. I haven't spent hours or weeks or months preparing any data. I was very impressed with the data that was put forth before, but so I guess that was kind of more macro, large view data. I'm kind of looking more micro, one person's opinion or experience. But you kind of stole my thunder when you mentioned the market. And, you know, I guess my opinion of the real estate market in the last 5 to 10 years is that it's been a lot different than what it was from the first 15 or 20 years I was in the business. Some years there, especially 2021, 2022, it didn't matter if the house had 2 bedrooms instead of 3 and no central air and electric ceiling cable heat and I-69 drive, you know, roaring right behind it and all this other stuff. Any house sold for a couple of years there. And in general, houses did sell a lot better in the last 5 or 10 years than what it did in my previous, you know, 10 or 15 years in the business before. So, you know, I guess I'm trying to look at it from a balanced approach, not just the market that we've had in the last 5 to 10 years, but what if we go back to a more normal market when inventories are more balanced and it's not, you know, oriented more towards sellers. I guess my general opinion is this. I've been approached probably 5 or 10 times just in the last year. Various things, people living next to the proposed racetrack up in Fort Wayne, a couple HOA members of a neighborhood here in Decatur that was dealing with some proposed changes to their HOA rules pertaining to solar panels in a neighborhood. I mean, I'm oftentimes approached about different things of what's it going to do to our resale if we do this or that. And again, just my general opinion, just from my personal experience, you know, I do think generally speaking, you know, people prefer to live in an area with, you know, adjacent views of natural settings or at least other residences. You know, a lot of things such as public use infrastructures, airports, jails, railroad tracks, stuff like that, usually aren't too popular. Commercial businesses, lots of traffic and whatnot, usually isn't popular. People usually don't want to live next to an industrial setting. many types of agricultural uses. We already dealt with one of those kind of tonight with the dog breeding, but, animal confinement and things of that nature. But also utility infrastructures, high tension power lines, transformer stations, solar farms, windmills. I mean, all these things tend to get negative connotations for people who want to live, next to those things or not. People do prefer to live, like I said, closer to with the views of natural settings and or at least other residences. And that could be for so many different things. It can be for noise. It can be for odors. It can be, any kind of substantiated or not health concerns, health or safety concerns, traffic congestions, unsightliness, or what have you. I guess my personal feeling is, what's the upside to resale to the adjoining neighborhood if this site was was confirmed? I don't know if there's going to be much upside. I don't know, why anybody would say, okay, well, it's going to be much more preferable to live here now because of that. I think there's more potential to be downside than upside for resale, but again, that's just one man's opinion. On an annual basis, I would say at least a few dozen times, people will tell me, oh, I love this house. If only it wasn't right next to a power line, high tension power lines, or I wish it wasn't right next to Walmart's parking lot or whatever else. I guess, like I said, I would just say there's probably more potential to be downside for resale than upside with this, but it's kind of a complicated matter. So that's my opinion.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else?
Hey, good evening. My name is Jason Gross. I live at 11822 North 350 West, Decatur, Indiana. Less than a half mile. I'm on that street. So tower's going in my backyard. First thing I wanted to present, so for the record, I have previously submitted 2 written recusal requests regarding Mr. Selking's 2022 trustee service at St. John Lutheran Church, the leaseholder for this tower site. Board member here in front of us. So those requests were never responded to from the zoning board. I asked that the public record reflect that both requests and supporting evidence were filed. Hold a piece of evidence from St. John Lutheran Bingen Church 2022 trustee Aaron Selking, zoning board member. Sure. Also in the audience tonight supporting the Build His Tower, Mr. Trent Klein. Hey, Trent. So he's here in support of the tower. You guys serve together on that same board. He's on the board now either, but he's here supporting more. Just pointing that out. So I want to go ahead and hand you guys my packets here that I present. Pass these out. I did email these.
So we already had these today.
I did email those in today.
Has everybody read them?
Yes.
Okay, good. Good.
Megan, everything that was emailed is a part of the file.
Gotcha, good. Is it possible to put up my slides like you did for these guys, or?
I didn't have it saved because I didn't know prior.
Okay, perfect. I guess then, since I've already mentioned the recusal request, I want to talk about the environmental compliance and false statements to the board from the last meeting. So this is new stuff. I'm not trying to rehash things, but in your packet, you'll find Exhibit A. It's an official email from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service confirming that there was no environmental review or coordination record exists for APC towers in Adams County. So you'll see proof of that there, Exhibit A. Despite that, tree clearing has already occurred at the proposed site during the protected period for during May through October. So there's federally endangered species that live there. We got the long-eared bat and the Indiana bat. I've already provided evidence to that to the board as well. So I previously emailed the board photographs clearly showing that the tree clearing had already taken place on those sites. Those photos are part of the public record and confirm that removal occurred well within that prohibited window. At the September 18th meeting, APC's representative, Mr. Fred Lowe, made several false and misleading statements to the board. So at 1 hour, 10 seconds, or 1 hour, 10 minutes, 6 seconds, he said, "We will work with U.S. Fish Wildlife Service and the FCC on those considerations and adhere to all guidelines during the construction and during the planning." So at least it implied that APC Towers was already coordinating with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services. At 1 hour, 45 minutes, 48 seconds, he added, "We have made application to US FWS for consultation and directive," and claimed, "I believe for this tower site, we cannot remove trees between May and October." But as you can see in my exhibit there, I provide evidence from US Fish and Wildlife Service. They let you know he had not coordinated with him. So we're already proving dishonesty from his last, the September meeting. So both those statements were false. Exhibit A confirms that no application or coordination exists for any APC Towers project in Adams County. If no consultation occurred, there could not have been any directive about seasonal tree removal about this specific project. Despite that, the company went ahead and cleared trees in the summer, as I provided photographic evidence of that to the board, directly contradicting Mr. Lowe's own statement and violating federal wildlife protections. That means APC Towers misled this board while acting outside of federal environmental compliance. While the company may argue that the full tower construction has not begun, the clearing of trees and visible drilling activity constitutes site preparation. So under federal law, actions that are expressly prohibited before completion of an environmental review and FCC registration under 47 CFR 1.1307. So it's not a minor discrepancy. It's a deliberate misrepresentation. I want it on the record that he misrepresented himself, to let that be known. So an applicant who provides false statements about environmental coordination cannot be trusted to comply with local or state requirements. The record shows no clear dishonesty from the petitioner. Because of these violations, I previously requested a stop work order from the county. I cited evidence of unauthorized tree clearing and non-compliance with federal environmental review. The planning and zoning director did acknowledge my request and indicated that it would be forwarded to the appropriate county departments for consideration. I asked the board tonight to renew and support that stop work request until all environmental and federal compliance issue are independently verified and can be proven, not just claimed. Show us the proof. I've checked with these agencies, the FCC and US Fish and Wildlife Services provided evidence. He is not registered. So make him prove it. On to the next point, FCC registration and further misrepresentation. Exhibit B is a current search of the FCC antenna structure registration database. No record exists for any structure at this location or under the applicant's name. The applicant has obtained an FAA no hazard determination, which is only the first step in the federal process. So I did see the FAA compliance there, but no compliance with the FCC. So there's another misleading statement. So I want to continue on to some rebuttal of your findings of facts from the last meeting back in September. Finding one, you said essential or desirable to public conveyance or welfare. The applicants claim that this tower is essential to public convenience is unfounded. My exhibit C there includes 9 coverage maps. So I provided FCC data voice, and I provided coverage maps from Verizon, T-Mobile, AT&T that all show sufficient coverage for that area. So if you check out those maps, you can see that they're saturated, right? If you're driving 1175 and you're not getting cell service, well, maybe you shouldn't be driving on your phone. Just saying. All strong, all those maps show strong overlapping service across the area, okay? Including 5G coverage. Check the maps from the providers that I gave you there. So almost done, guys. In addition, reliable alternatives already meet the community's connectivity needs. Satellite broadband providers such as Starlink exist now. We're in a new day and age, right? So if you're driving on your tractor, trying to do your business on your cell phone, put a Starlink on there, you know? You don't necessarily need to destroy your whole neighborhood with a giant tower. You can contain that yourself with a little Starlink thing. So on your next finding, number 2, undue hardship on the applicant. No evidence was presented that denial creates an undue hardship. APC towers can pursue alternative locations with less populated zones. As we just saw, we have other guys willing to put this on their property. So finding number 3, conflict with the comprehensive plan. Adams County comprehensive plan calls for the preservation of residential character and agricultural land while encouraging infrastructure in commercial and industrial zones. 230, 235 is actually what I find on the FAA registration. Foot tower in the middle of a rural neighborhood directly conflicts with those goals. All right, it's right in my backyard. I can see right through those trees all the way across Highway 27. I'm gonna see this tower right out my back window all day, every day. Finding number 4, detrimental impact to the surrounding area. The petition claimed that minimal impact, yet undisclosed utility and access easements will run through church property and potentially affect adjacent landowners. This creates ongoing maintenance, traffic, visual blight, noise, combined with the documented property value reductions, as we heard of, and loss of neighborhood character. The project is clearly detrimental to the surrounding community. So in conclusion, for these reasons, I respectfully request that the board deny contingent use of this petition. The application contains false statements, environmental noncompliance, lack of FCC registration, and no demonstrated need for service coverage. Approval would reward dishonesty and set a dangerous precedent for future developments in Adams County. Thank you for your time and protecting the rights of local residents. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I do want the record to reflect there were no findings made in September. Findings were discussed. Votes was 2-2. Under the State Zoning Enabling Act, that is not official action when you don't have 3 votes, so nothing was done.
You want to speak?
Sure. Hi there. My name's Jessica Eddington. I have lived at 3489 West, 1175 North for most of my life at this point. I'm also a Verizon customer and have been since I was 14. So I would be the servicing person. I would be the person that would be getting this service. And nothing that has been said tonight really reflects why it would be a benefit for me, both as someone who lives in the community and someone who would need the coverage. So I would like the record to state that I am in opposition and ask you to deny. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Melanie Teixeira, 1343 Bears Pass. I don't live near this tower, but my kids go to Winnicott School and I'm scared for the toxic emissions that it could be saturating into my kids' bodies as they go to school every day. And I don't think it's worth their health. And I drive and talk on my phone in that area every day and I hear fine at Winnicott. It's more closer towards Decatur where I have trouble. So I don't know if it would affect that at all, but that I am opposition to the tower. Thank you.
All right, Daniel Porter, 3480 West, 1200 North Decatur. I've got a couple things I'm gonna hand you guys. First up here, I did my own property value analysis as well. So I also, found some studies out there that did show, potential decreases. Anywhere from 2% to 10% was more normal, and then, up to 20%. And so I've got that research here as well as a graph then showing, there's a map after that as well. So all the residences within a half mile of the site. And so I went through on our GIS, I gathered the assessed values, which usually are lower than market prices, and then also used Zillow for their estimate just to get another gauge of the numbers. And so even at a 2% decrease in property value to these homes, you'd be looking at over $100,000 of impact in home value to the residents of the area. And then, even if you look at 5%, it gets over 300,000, and then it can get up to $1 million if you hit the 20%. Highly unlikely, but still several $100,000 of property decrease value. The other thing I have is a new map I created, zoomed out a little more, also with some of the data of some landowners in the area that are in favor of putting a tower on their land. And so the yellow circle would be the current proposed location. And then also you got the orange one up there, which was the gentleman that proposed his land. And then we also have a landowner further south around 900, which might be a good candidate to fill that area, where he has 0 people. It's Greg Fleming, has 0 people within a quarter mile of his spot of land. And so maybe that'd be a good spot. And then also there's nearly 20 locations then also that I found in the area, again, where there's no one within that quarter mile. So again, showing there is a lot of opportunity around. You just got to go searching for it and keep trying. So with that, I would just urge that you guys recommend not denying it, and that they look harder. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else?
My name's Gina Raymond, and I reside at 11800 North, 350 West, Decatur. Got a little bit. My name's Gina Raymond. I reside at 11800 North, 350 West, Decatur, Indiana. So I'm right there on that road, and the cell tower will be very highly visible. I did turn in paperwork this morning to the zoning office with pictures showing simulations with the tower and against what it is with the tower. So I hope you have that to be able to look at. I'm coming to you on behalf of ourselves, my husband and I, nearby residents, property owners, and concerned citizens who will be directly and significantly affected by this proposed 235-foot tower. And we are respectfully requesting denial of the contingent use application based on overwhelming substantial evidence demonstrating procedural deficiencies, environmental harm, property value impacts, failure to meet the standards required under the Adams County Land Use Ordinance of 2005, Ordinance 2005-01. I would, before I kind of have a review over everything that we have presented to make those, I did want to say a couple of things. The appraiser said, I feel like when he's talking about the impact of the tower on the property value, I feel like far down the line how it's going to diminish the value of these properties. So he does admit that it's going to diminish the value of the property. It's just far further down the line than some other things might be. As far as what we have shown to you and have turned in, The burden of proof is on the applicant, and it has not been met. Under the Adams County, Indiana Land Use Ordinance of 2005, the applicant must demonstrate substantial evidence proving that the tower is necessary, that it will not harm neighboring properties, rural character, or public welfare. APC tells us not met this standard. The record contains assertions, not evidence, speculation, not engineering, and claims, not verification. There is going to be a significant adverse impact on nearby residents' property values and visual character. As far as the visual intrusion, the 235 tower will dominate the skyline. The tower is a guide structure with multiple guy wires extending outward, each surrounded by 6-foot fences with barbed wire. Additionally, the tower base itself will be enclosed with a 6-foot fence, also topped with barbed wire. The compound will measure 60 foot by 60 foot, containing industrial equipment, shelters, and an access road. Again, the pictorial evidence submitted to the board will definitely shows a severe detrimental effect on the view shed off the residences near this proposed site. During the September 18, 2025 board hearing, Mr. Lau stated he would offer photo simulations. Those simulations were very poor. One was taken from the country mile in Mr. Lau's words from the September 18, 2025 meeting, and it was from ground level. So obviously it was very poor. In addition, for those simulations, that tower was shown without any of the collocations on it. None of the equipment that is going to be placed on it. It's just the tower there. All right. All of that equipment will be placed on it. As far as we have an industrial intrusion into a rural pastoral landscape. The proposed tower is 6-foot by 60-foot compound surrounded by fences, 6-foot fences, barbed wire, multiple guy wires, represents a heavily industrial addition to an otherwise rural and pastoral location. I'm sorry. Hands are slipping. The structure, the fencing, the equipment shelters, maintenance activity will introduce an industrial scale visual, physical, environmental impacts that are entirely inconsistent with the character and the purpose of the surrounding rural district. It's not a subtle addition. It is a dominant industrial facility in a landscape of homes, farmland, and natural open space. Such industrial intrusion substantially diminishes the rural scenic qualities, serenity, and aesthetic value that the zoning ordinance intends to protect. Property value decline, another problematic area as we've discussed. Proximity to communications towers is consistently associated with the reductions in property values, especially within 1,000 to 1,500 feet of homes. If you look at the map that was rendered to you by Mr. Lau, you will note that all of our houses are within that footage. Also, we will have noise, lighting, and industrial activity generators. Equipment shelters, fencing, maintenance activity introduce significant industrial impacts, again, inconsistent with the rural district. The guy wires and tall towers are well-documented hazards to migratory birds and raptors, while ground disturbance, lighting, and fencing disrupt rural habitat and agricultural use. It does have environmental and ecological harm associated with the use of guy wires. In addition, there are procedural irregularities and incomplete disclosures. The applicant, Mr. Lau, has not demonstrated a state of necessity for a new tower. Information regarding corporate authority and contracting has been ambiguous or incomplete. Community outreach has been insufficient. Critical filing responses, such as whether the status of state applicant contained incomplete or inaccurate information. The need argument has not been proven, APC Towers relies on generalized claims of coverage improvement, but has not provided proper verification. We were given these maps at the last meeting. To an untrained eye or someone who isn't looking at this closely, you'd think the pink is, oh, that's good, and the yellow, oh, good, oh, but look at all that gray or beige area. We don't have service. That's not what that is. The gray stands for good service. So that is the rest of the area where supposedly there is no service. And again, my paperwork will show that the FCC does not require 100% coverage of any area licensed to Verizon. That is cited in the paperwork I gave to you. Hold on. The FCC regulations recognize that small dead spots within service areas are permissible. Dead spots, small areas within a service area where the field strength is lower than the minimal level for reliable service. Service within dead spots is presumed straight out of the FCC. That again is in the paperwork. And it is not the role of the board to enforce or second guess whether a telecommunications operator has met FCC coverage or construction benchmarks. That's on them. Substantial evidence supporting denial. We have the petition that was given to you from all the concerned neighbors, property owners, and parents of Winnicott students. We have pictorial evidence showing you the difference that tower will make to our views. We have realtor letters and Burgoyne appraisal confirming substantial negative impacts on local property values. Burgoyne is an appraiser and he is licensed in the state of Indiana. Failure to demonstrate technical necessity, that has not been done. Procedural deficiencies, incomplete disclosures, inconsistent filings. There are less intrusive alternatives. We presented one to you. A landowner who is less than a mile away, where a tower did sit by another company, is willing to lease that land and host that tower. Together, all of these can constitute a robust, multi-layered body of substantial evidence that all of us have presented to you. The record is clear, it's well documented. Not only has APC Towers failed to satisfy legal and zoning requirements, but the community has provided affirmative, compelling, first-hand evidence of real harm, already submitted to the board through the petition, pictorial evidence, and professional appraisals. Federal law permits coverage gaps. APC Towers has not demonstrated that less intrusive alternatives are fully considered or infeasible. They're required to do so. These are real people, real homes, real impacts. Therefore, based on the law, the ordinance, and the overwhelming substantial evidence submitted to the community, I respectfully and firmly ask that you deny this contingent use application. Thank you very much for your time.
Hi, Jennifer Lehrman, 11873 North 350 West. I live probably in one of the closest proximities to this. I'm not going to, I could say ditto to everything they said because I feel identical to everything they've shared. So I don't want to waste our time with that. I just wanted to address a couple things. Number one, I wanted to state, obviously, there's been a lot of personal opinions and feelings. I could tell you right now, I would not have purchased this home if this cell phone tower was here. That would have impacted my decision to live in this location. We have proven that there are several people who are open to taking this on their property. I struggle. I'm not a farmer, so this is nothing against farmers, but I struggle to hear him say, well, we don't want to put a farmer out to have to farm around a box of wires, but let's put out all of these people and inconvenience them when they're so opposed to it because we don't want to make it harder for a farmer where then there's no homes around it and nobody's impacted by it and then the service is provided. So I'm going to challenge that. I do want to challenge their drawing also from the view because it was right from my driveway basically of the tower. Those trees are maybe 50, 60 feet tall. That did not depict a 230-foot tower of what that would visually look like in my front yard. Those lights will all be shining in my windows. And I also wanted to challenge that I think it's pretty presumptuous of them to say, well, we don't want to find a new location because we've already spent all this money on engineering. Well, this wasn't approved yet. So that's kind of a bad business decision to spend that much money on engineering and an investment in it when it hasn't even been approved. So that shouldn't be something that should be punished against us because they've spent that money, especially when there are other people who are open to this and can provide the solution. I think we also stated last time, I have had Verizon as a carrier. I've lived here for 11 years and I have never had a single issue with cell phone service in this location. So those are just kind of my additional comments.
Thank you. Okay, you guys.
Mark Cook, 11-9-20, 350 West. So I'm probably one of the closest ones to it as well. I will ditto to everybody else. They did the research. I don't have much paper to give you. I'm gonna go as quick as I can here, but I oppose it. I mean, I don't want to see it in my backyard. They hired an appraiser to give you his opinion for their side. We had residents look up their own stuff, and it will impact what the value of our homes are going to be with that being there. So I just think we got to take that into account. And then he's also giving you an appraisal, or my stepdad's an appraiser, and he had stuff in there that the people are choosing to build by these towers, and that's what he was judging it off of. So I would take that into account as well. So like I said, you guys are trying to finish up here, and it's probably a longer meeting than normal. So, but I do oppose it. Okay.
Time for rebuttal.
You got to go to.
Let you start in terms of comments that were made regarding your
Misrepresentation. Yeah. And I offered last time we were here, and again, I made the point that the U.S. Fish and Wildlife was not part of the zoning consideration. I offered documentation at that time, and the board indicated they didn't need to see it. I'll offer it again. It was filed in September. I don't know who the gentleman was talking to, but we aren't dodging the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Yeah, I didn't say anything that wasn't factual. I can produce if there's any questions about that. That's.
Mr. Chairman, I don't know that the board nor you want to rehash everything that we have previously submitted. We have shown you that we meet the terms of the ordinance in terms of setbacks from property boundaries, in terms of obviously screening being in the middle of a wooded area. We have shown you through the RF statement from Verizon the need for this facility. Yes, people may have cell service independently. However, the network works together for purposes of cell service, transmission of data, and other information, especially near the school. It is not a popularity contest that we're here to participate in. We're here to ask you to follow your ordinance that says if we meet the criteria for a conditional use and the findings of fact, then we're entitled to approval to install the application that we've asked for. And so everyone, including us, have opinions as to the desirability of having, each one of us here has a cell phone in our pocket, I know. And they don't work without systems like this interwoven, as the engineering firm or the engineers at Verizon have designed this system in order to make it work for the whole community. I can challenge the comments made about depreciation of property values. We've shown you with our evidence and our experts' study that they do not have a negative impact on properties, and the report shows you where properties are being built within feet of cell towers. I don't want to be any more repetitive. We would ask you to follow the ordinance, follow the findings of fact, that the evidence that we have presented shows that we are entitled to your vote to approve the conditional use. And thank you.
Thank you. All right. We will now go into the finding of facts for contingent use. Question one, the proposed contingent will or will not be essential or desirable to the public convenience or welfare because.
It will. There's needed service south of where they're proposing the service. Proposing the tower.
Agreed. Agree?
I'll disagree. I'll say the proposed contingent use will not be desirable, as confirmed by the amount of evidence we've heard from property owners. And as far as being essential, I do not feel this location is. It's not been proven that there are no other alternative locations.
Question number two. The proposed contingent use will or will not constitute an undue hardship on the applicant because.
I believe it will, as they pretty much met most of the requirements for the ordinance. And are dealing with very limited select sites that they can place this tower. And they have finally stumbled upon a landowner willing to lease property to provide necessary service for Adams County.
I would agree.
I guess I do not agree. I don't feel the applicant, I feel the applicant did not establish that refusal of this contingent use will be an undue hardship. It may be inconvenient, problematic, require more effort, and require additional expense and a different lease agreement to find an alternate location. So I don't believe that it rises to the level of hardship.
Joe?
I think it would be a hardship. I don't know if it's an undue hardship. I think they explained to us numerous times how difficult it is to find a location, and that's part of the process.
Question number three, the proposed contingent use is not in conflict with any plan adopted by ordinance.
If not, they've met all the obligations required by the Adams County ordinance.
I agree.
I agree.
Does our current plan address cell towers?
Not specifically.
I mean, it's 1996.
What's that?
Comprehensive plan is 1996.
So it's not,
No.
not straight specifically, no.
Others have made the argument that it's not consistent with an agricultural area, yet the ordinance allows these contingent uses in ag areas. So I'll just point out those two things for you.
I can agree then.
Okay. Question number 4. The proposed use will or will not be detrimental to the surrounding area because.
I feel it will be detrimental to the surrounding area. We've heard a lot of evidence from neighbors that passing this contingent use will be disruptive and harmful to the surrounding area, neighborhood, of which there are many residences within a quarter of a mile.
I would agree based on, and I realize we saw the realtor's viewpoint that you guys brought. We've also heard from other folks in here, and based on the, again, limited research that I did, it appears that it would adversely affect the value of the home in that area within, you know, a half of a mile or so or closer.
I would have to disagree. I don't feel that it's an everyday sight anymore. I look out my back window, I can see 6 different towers out my back window, bedroom windows. Granted, they are a little bit further away than what you guys are. I will give you that, but driving by 3 of them every day on the way to work, you just don't even see them anymore. It's an everyday sight.
I would agree.
If approved, the board establishes the following conditions of approval.
I think we could get to that after there was a vote if we find out which way the board goes.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the contingent use.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Chair votes.
Time for my vote.
So the motion was to approve. And so you're voting either to approve the motion or to deny it, or you're against the motion.
I deny the request.
I think we also need then, I think it's clearer for the record then if there, so that the motion to approve failed. Our rules don't say that that's an automatic denial. We should have a motion to deny if someone's willing to make a motion in a second and then a vote on denial.
I'll make a motion to approve. I mean, to deny the request. Yeah. Sorry about that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
So you're voting for the motion to deny.
I vote for the notion to deny.
Thank you all for your time. Appreciate it.
I would like to say I appreciate the way you presented your information, even though we disagreed. You were very respectful and calm and did not get fired up.
I appreciate that. I will tell my mother tonight. I'm gonna go see her right.
Okay.
Did a good job.
Sorry about that, Aaron.
You were fine.
maybe a 5-minute recess would be a good idea. If a member could propose that. You have other items, so, and they're gonna be collecting, recorders equipment, so I think if. Okay.
The next application for development standard variance DSV 2025 36 filed by Pleasant Mills Methodist Church at 2045 North US Highway 33. They are wanting to install a flashing LED sign that would be 33 feet from the center of the highway. Per County Land Use Ordinance, Section 2-17, a sign must be 55 feet from the center of the highway. The land is located in Section 21 of St. Mary's Township. Am I reading the next one?
They
Well-
both can be heard at the same time.
Okay.
Yep.
And is it the same verbiage? No, it isn't. I'm gonna read the next one. An application for development standard variance, DSV 2025 37 filed by Pleasant Mills Methodist Church at 2045 North US Highway 33. They are wanting to install a flashing LED sign that would be 33 feet from a residential zone. Per County Land Use Ordinance, Section 2-17-8-B, a flashing LED sign must be 300 feet from any residential zone or developed areas. The land is located in Section 21 of St. Mary's Township. Would the people representing this come forward and give us more information, I guess?
My name's Jim Jones. I'm the maintenance director at the church. I'm also a trustee, one of 3 trustees, and I'm the one that filed the motion. And this is Pastor John McCullough. I'll introduce him. He's not a trustee, but he is the pastor of the church and the leader of the church. As we get started, I do want to ask one thing. When I come up with the 33 feet from the 30-foot right-of-way, I was taking into consideration the fact that we haven't got a survey pin there yet, which I've contacted Miller Land Surveying, and they're going to put a pin. It's going to be right, if you look at the state right-of-way, it's depicted in a yellow line there, and they're going to put a pin right at the point where it goes from 30 feet to 40 feet. And that appears on the GIS to be in the parking lot, but we really don't know until that pin's in there. So when I come up with the 33 feet, I was also looking at an electric service lateral there, and I want to make sure there wasn't no problems with that. But if once the pin's in and we do the locate on the service lateral, is it possible to amend that 33 feet to 31 feet? That would be one thing I would ask of the board, but to go on, do you have more questions then?
I think what's submitted is what we'd have to go off of.
Okay, and that's fine. I mean, that's the way I submitted it.
Is that right,
But
Pat?
That's exactly right.
okay, that was my reasoning though, that for the 3 feet, I want to make sure that we were clear of that service lateral. But like I said, until we get the pin in and know exactly where that 30-foot falls, because you can't take a tape measure and measure from the center of the road there. The road has a curvature, and I own property on the other side, and it's a 40-foot setback, but if I measure from the center of the road to the pin, it's actually about 53. So until we got that pin in there, I wanted to be cautious. So that's why I said 33. And so if we have to go with that, that's fine.
Any other questions from the board?
Glad to see her getting a survey.
You say this is a flashing LED sign.
Well, that's
Explain
not
that
the
a
term
little.
I put on. That's not the term I put on it. It's just an LED board that, message board. It'll be
Yeah.
two-sided. It'll be viewed from the east and the west on Highway 33.
You're saying it'll scroll, not necessarily.
Yeah, it's whatever message we put on it. Yeah, it's
Whatever that loop reads.
Flashing is just the terminology of the ordinance, but it's the same thing.
Okay.
I drove out there and looked at it, and kind of the way the curvature of the road kind of almost blocks, almost kind of block it from the houses on the other side.
Yeah, from the west. And that was one of the reasons I was requesting, if possible, if we could go to 31 feet, because that would give us another 2 foot of view coming for the folks coming from the west.
Just so you guys know, if they apply for 33, you can't approve 31 because we make a legal ad that advertises it as such. But don't confuse that with situations when somebody asks for 5 and it normally would be 20, but you want to approve 10. We've sort of handled those as a condition of approval, which you can do. Okay, so you can kind of go larger, still less than the requirement, but you can't go less than what they requested.
What's the closest structure or of the building or whatever to the
The
center of the road?
church would be the closest. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, how many feet is that?
Oh, from the sign location to the church?
You know,
From the church
from
to the
the,
center of the
from the
road.
middle of the road.
Oh, the church is just off of the state right of way there. There you go. That's pretty close.
So the church is already at 34 feet. It looks, is that what that said?
That's what I think. Took it to the stripe on the road, so.
Give or take. Like I said, without a survey pin, it's
Yeah.
gonna be pretty hard to say, but we.
I was just asking to see that it wasn't, how close the sign was in relationship to the center of the road, in relationship to the church being to the center of the road.
They're about the same.
Yeah.
I see that.
And then I have one other question to the board. Okay, we've covered the 33 feet. Now, in the drawing that I submitted, I depicted the sign on the west side of the sidewalk. But again, without knowing where the pin will fall, if the pin actually falls as the GIS shows in the parking lot, is it permissible to put that sign on the east side of the sidewalk? Which that wasn't really, that was only a drawing I depicted. It really wasn't in any of the verbiage on setbacks or anything like that. Does that make sense? Because
Are you trying to get it further away from the church?
actually see if we remove it, if we could move it on the other side of the sidewalk, from the way it's depicted, that would gain view from the west, which it's very limited.
I think from simplicity's side, we ought to just go off of what he submitted.
If that's not a major change, if it doesn't reduce a required setback to the sideline.
Is that part of the second one from the residential area then?
That
Is
might
that the
be.
second part of this?
Yeah, the residential actually is the center of the road. Yeah.
I will say, I don't think that changes anything. I think you could go sideways.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of asking here, because it was just a depiction. Thank you, Mark. It was just a depiction in my drawing, but not an actual measurement or anything like that.
What you're gonna approve will affect from residents and from center of the road, which is basically the same thing. So whether he slides it, I won't say east or west because it's on an angle, but east or west, it won't matter.
Right. And we may not be able to do that depending on where that pin comes in at, where it goes from the state right away goes from 30 feet to 40 feet. If that line is actually down the middle of the sidewalk, we can't do that. So again, I'm being kind of reserved here until Miller Land Surveying gets that marked for us. They said they would have that done by the first of the year. And we're not going to do anything anytime too soon anyhow, pending approval, of course.
Any other questions, comments from the board? Any calls or letters? The danger part. Anybody from the audience want to come forward and speak for or against? No. All right, we'll go finding of facts. Question number 1, approval will or will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community because?
I'd say will not. It's very similar to the same distance from the center of the road that the physical structure is of the building.
Agreed. Question number 2, the use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the development standards variance will or will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner because?
I'll say will not. Just like we answered for number 1, it's basically the same distance as the church is from the road. And, it shouldn't affect anybody else in the neighborhood.
All agree?
Agreed.
Question number 3, the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will or will not result in practical difficulties in the use of the property.
Would say will, because if you have to move that sign back, it's either gonna be in the middle of their parking lot or further back along the building where you lose complete visibility from the west.
Question number 4, if granted, the board prescribes the following conditions. Motion,
Make a motion to accept.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That one's granted.
Alrighty, thank you. Thank you.
Now we will go.
Oh, we got one more yet, don't we?
We'll
We
talk
were on the
about
33
over
feet.
there.
Yeah, I'm just tired. And I'm sure everybody else is.
Feel your pain. Number 1, approval will or will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community because.
It will not, with the curve of the road, I don't think that it'll affect the houses.
All agree? Question number 2, the use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the development standards variance will or will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner because.
Will not, because of the curve of the road, will be blocking a good portion of the light.
Agreed. Question number 3, the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will or will not result in practical difficulties in the use of the property.
Will, because I don't know if there's 300 feet there available.
Agreed. Number 4, if granted, the board prescribes the following conditions.
Make a motion to accept.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Now it's granted.
Okay. Thank you for your time. Yes, thank you, members of the board.
Next application for development standard variance DSV 2025 38 filed by Lyle Schaefer at 9924 North 000 Road. They're wanting to establish a property line that would be 19 feet from 2 existing outbuildings. Per County Land Use Ordinance, Section 2-16-4-C, a property line must be 20 feet from a structure. The land is located in Section 16 of Root Township.
I suppose he's talking that. Yep. Yeah. My name's Lyle Schaefer. I live at 146 West, 1000 North, right around the corner from that house on 000. I would like to sell the house. Just the house and 1 acre. If at all possible.
So do you own the property then that would go
Yes.
across the creek and?
No, the creek is the boundary line.
Okay.
1000 North is the boundary line. 000 is the boundary line. And then my brother's driveway is the boundary line on the south.
Okay.
But it's a total of 3 2/10 acres. I want to sell the house with 1 acre of ground. I want to keep the barn and stuff for my grandkids, for them to put, my granddaughter wants to become a vet when she gets older. So she wants to mess around with some animals. So I would like to keep the barn for that. The kid that wants to buy the house, he's been helping me quite a bit do things.
And the reason it's 1 acre is that's sewers out there.
Oh,
That's why it's not 2.
you knew we were gonna ask that.
Yep.
Is there a reason it's 19 and not 20?
Well, it's in between the 2 buildings.
So split the difference. I mean, yeah, it'd be,
It's
It's
19
38,
on both of them.
38 feet.
yeah, I got you. Okay, so we're talking 1 foot.
Yeah. It was almost.
Questions from the board?
No.
Calls or letters?
Nope.
Comments from the audience?
Yeah, I just got a couple questions. So when you have a
property that's like Lyle's there, you can sell it with just 1 acre, right?
If it has sewer.
Okay, now if the sewer goes down, it goes down 000 there.
What's your
Now,
name, sir, and your address, please?
Ray Kirschner, 440 West, 1000 North.
Thank you.
Just a half mile down the road. And so if you're having a new construction down the road where the sewer runs, how many acres do you have to have? Can you get by with 1 acre or not? One?
If it has sewer.
If it has that sewer line. Otherwise, you gotta have 2 acres. That's what a septic tank in.
Correct.
And they're not gonna run that line down 1000 North there, right?
No idea. Not a question for this board or me, because I don't do that.
Okay. I guess that's all I wanted to know.
Thank you. All right, finding of facts. Approval will or will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community because.
Say will not, sorry.
Go ahead.
I would say will not. The property's been established and it's there and nothing's really changing other than ownership of 1 acre.
Yeah, I've had the property for 47 years.
All agree?
I'm getting to the point, I need help taking care of things.
Question number 2, the use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the development standards variance will or will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner because.
I'll say will not, basically the same as number 1, what Joe said, the use and nothing's changing other than property line.
All agree?
Agree.
Question number 3, the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will or will not result in practical difficulties in the use of the property.
Say it will, because without relocating a building, you'll never get to 20 feet.
All agree?
Agreed.
Number 4, if granted, the board prescribes the following conditions.
Make a motion to accept.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion granted.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks for being patient.
The last one. An application for development standards variance DSV 2025 39 filed by Chris and Kimberly Hedrick on East Lakeside Drive. They are wanting to construct a residence with 624 square feet of living area. Per county land use ordinance, section 2-7-3, a residence must have at least 950 square feet of living area. The land is located in section 25 of Root Township.
Kimberly and Chris Hedrick currently reside at 3891 West US 224, Decatur, Indiana.
We're wanting to request a smaller building size because we're trying to think more about our long-term future and retirement. And doing so, we've liked being in smaller places. They're easier to maintain, easier to upkeep. We've lived in a sub 500 square foot for 5 years. About a year ago, and we didn't really have too many issues with sizes there. We did go up a little bit in size because we wanted on-site facilities for washers and dryers. But other than that, we were perfectly happy in a smaller dwelling.
You can't hide from each other much in a house.
That's what I was thinking too. That's why I want a bigger house.
Just celebrated 14 years, so there's no hiding.
Mark, do we know what the reason was for 950 being the?
It's in the building code, actually.
Do you know why, or what the rationale was behind that?
I can just tell you it's in the building code. It's been in there for years,
Before
decades.
the TV show Tiny
Well,
Houses.
yeah, very much before
Which
that.
I don't know, building in Fort Wayne. I don't know
Yeah,
what's.
it's been in the building code for decades and it's just, it is what it is. I can't tell
Your
you the
mom's
why.
house smaller than that?
Yeah, a lot.
I remember
It's
one
straight
other time somebody came to us with a smaller than the 950 foot.
Yeah.
And my house is larger, but I think there's a lot of validity to it. That makes
Neither of us
sense.
likes to clean, so the smaller, less I have to clean.
Any other questions from the board? Calls or letters?
Nope.
Comments from the audience? Finding of facts. Question number one, approval will or will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community because?
Will not. It's new construction. It's gonna be built to code. It's just smaller.
I would agree.
Number two, the use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the development standards variance will or will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner because?
Say will not. It'll be a nice new construction there in the neighborhood.
Agree?
Agree.
Number three, the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will or will not result in practical difficulties in the use of the property.
It will. They can't build.
Larger or more money, that goes with it.
Four, if granted, the board prescribes the following conditions.
Make a motion to accept.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Have fun with your new.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
You know, come visit to see it.
One at a time.
I would like to make a motion to accept the minutes from last meeting.
Let's read them all.
Is that a second then?
Somebody reach over there.
Second.
We got a second on this? You did? Okay, good. Any new or old business?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Sorry.
Oh, there you go.
Talking in class here.
Need a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second and third.
Yeah, fourth.
Hey. All right. So you don't know. I got a farm back there, you know, and they can improvise. They told me I could just divide it. So I could do division, you gotta go on subdivision. One house. I'll pour it back. Not working down there. That 3 acres used to be connected to the rest. That wasn't even a farm. Now he's selling it. Don't do it. No, he said he just selling the house and 1 acre. And then it's around it. Why should I? Sell that acre. If that was continuous and it's a full farm. Which one of these guys? Which one of these guys? What the guy was here? You know anything? I think I know about a guild. Well, what I'm saying is, you know, if they went to their back, actually on one side, join the rest of it. They got yeah. I split that myself.
Oh, fine, yeah.
All right, we will now call this Adams County Plan Commission meeting for November 20th. Official time is 9:07 start time. We will go ahead. I don't know. We don't need to do introductions because no one's really in the audience at this point. So we're good. The first hearing that we have tonight and the only hearing is an application for a commercial dog breeding facility filed by Eleanor Schwartz Kennels, Leander and Rebecca Schwartz at 3730 West State Road 218. They are wanting to operate a commercial dog breeding facility that will house 15 unaltered female dogs. The land is located in section 1 of Hartford Township. And if you don't know, that was brought up for the BZA and that was denied because there's 1,000 foot. There's like with 7 homes within that 1,000 foot setback for neighboring residences. And Leanne Schwartz is not here, correct?
Correct. The record shows that the applicant left after the BZA denial, so he's not present for his development plan. And our rules state if they miss 2 meetings, that you can dismiss it. So I think I would take a motion and a vote to establish this as his first missed meeting. We'll put it on the next agenda. You guys meet. You'll vote then at that point to dismiss it if he doesn't show up.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it has been properly moved and seconded that we dismiss this for tonight and we will put it on the agenda next month at this point. Even if that's the only hearing we have, correct?
Well,
still
it could go to the next.
to the next month,
Yeah, to
even
the
if
next.
regular scheduled meeting that we would have.
That's
Okay,
right.
because I know sometimes it's before Christmas too, if
Right.
that's the only thing that we got going. Okay.
Yeah, it's a good call.
And I just thought, are you gonna let the people know that they have to be here, the Swartzes and the Paws people?
We'll communicate with him.
Everybody that is interested. I don't know if that's a pertinent thing or not.
We'll take care of that with staff.
We didn't know you were going.
Vote to approve.
Okay.
I mean, it would be challenging. I know we don't need to discuss it too much, but it would be challenging to go against BZA, correct, on this?
Well,
Because they
I
denied.
mean, your other choice would be to deny it, but we don't have a petitioner or any evidence.
Someone here.
So
Okay.
I think the better approach is just dismiss it.
Dismiss
when
it
he
at this
misses the
point,
second
yes.
time it's on.
I agree with you. I just
Yeah.
know moving forward, even for the next meeting, yeah, it's gonna be tough. I'm
Yeah.
just asking like.
Yeah, and
our
that's fine.
choices
It's just with
Are limited.
with the State Board of Accounts, you have to show that you did something with it in your minutes eventually, or they kind of wonder what you did with the application fee.
All right, and so we had the motion made by Paul. I don't know who seconded that. Bob seconded that for the minutes. With that, all those, please signify by raising your right hand. 5, and all those opposed. Okay, passes 5-0 and 1 abstain.
No, I voted yes.
You voted yes, okay,
Yes.
6, okay. 6, so motion, yes, is passed. We will dismiss this till our next regular scheduled meeting, whenever that is. All right? Any other business?
Be reading minutes.
Oh, minutes, yes, minutes, okay, that's next, I forgot about minutes. Any additions or corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, they'll stand approved as sent out by Megan. Do you have anything? That's Gene Whitty, by the way, so you could. I'm aware. You're aware, okay. Maybe he will talk to you here a second before you leave. Okay. Yeah, you gotta get that.
That's their job.
Back in their deal. Okay. All right, any other new business? Before I adjourn the meeting. Seeing none, meeting is adjourned at 9:12. Thank you all.
They're not usually that short.